In this video, we'll talk about strategies to prevent overeating, the compassionate mind approach to beating overeating. Everyone's aware of the fact that obesity rates are getting higher each year, despite the many millions of dollars pumped into healthcare each year. In the US, Americans now eat an average of 3,775 calories a day. That's 1,775 more than what they need. When you consume more calories than your body really needs, it will be stored as extra energy known as fats. With people consuming almost twice as much as they need consistently, the population in general can only get fatter. The old saying, information is power, is also true for information on eating habits. And if you know what is happening with the foods you choose to eat and how your body reacts to it and different foods, you are on the way to being able to beat the problem of overeating. Once you have an understanding of how your metabolism works and how many calories you actually need to sustain your daily activities, then it's possible to make meal plans and menus that are designed to meet both your physical and emotional needs. A diet that is bland and boring, which is non-filling and provides no pleasure from eating, is doomed to failure. Making a menu that is tailored to your own unique preferences is the best option. The first thing you should attempt to do in order to stop overeating is to start cutting back a little at a time. If you have the habit of drinking 3 cans of soda a day, try cutting down to 1. This will save you from consuming 300 calories a day. Think about making, not buying, ready-made muesli for breakfast. A half cup contains 150 calories and provides a huge array of useful nutrients. To make it interesting and more palatable, serve it with organic cream or coconut cream, about 50 calories per tablespoon, and some fresh fruit. This will provide you a filling and tasty breakfast that will keep you feeling full until lunchtime, and you will not feel the need for snacking. A high-protein breakfast suits many people and is likely to set you up well for the day and lessen the likelihood of binge eating during lunch or dinner time. By taking control of your diet and eating habits, you can have less desire to overeat. Carving out a diet or meal plan is a good start. Try planning out your whole week's meal plan or menus. Here's a tip for you when planning out your meals. Choose foods that complement each other, contain high natural fiber and nutrients, and low in carbs or sugars to ensure that you'll feel full and nourished after meals. Foods such as vegetables, nuts, beans, and legumes can reduce your tendency to overeat. But don't forget to keep things interesting and make sure that your meal plans are giving you the feeling of satiety most of the time. Then reward yourself once a week with an activity you enjoy so that you stop binging or overeating before it becomes a habit. A lot of condiments are very high in sugar and other natural compounds. Tomato sauce, which is the undisputed favorite sauce worldwide, is a prime example. In a teaspoon of commercial tomato sauce, there are 20 calories. In homemade tomato sauce, there are only 5 calories. So why the 15-calorie difference? Commercial sauce tends to have more sugar and processed ingredients in it to make it more flavorful and addictive. But at the same time, it destroys your health in the long run. 15 calories may look little, but this number adds up over time. So why not create your own healthy sauce? The ingredients are easy to find and don't require much effort to create. Basically, anyone can prepare it at home. Here's a healthy recipe for tomato sauce. Place 2 pounds of whole tomatoes, a mixture of acid-free and beef tomatoes, half pound of peeled diced pumpkin, add a chopped onion, 4 cloves of garlic, a few peppercorns, several bay leaves, and a few cloves. Place it all together in a pressure cooker for 30 minutes, a stock pot for 2 hours, or a crock pot for 8 hours. Add salt to taste. At the end of the cooking time, tomato mush will be formed. Next, pass this through a fine mesh strainer to remove any solids, and the sauce will be ready to serve. You can also prepare the sauce in thicker consistency as desired. And finally, keep it refrigerated for a week for the best result. This sauce tastes great with some herbs, capsicum, chili, ginger, and others as a finishing touch. You can use it on everything and anywhere else tomato sauce goes. Not only will it save you a lot of money, it will help you reduce your calorie count and liven up many dishes without ingesting too much sugar. When the stomach is empty, it has a high volume of about 1.5 ounces, but when it's full, a normal stomach can expand to between 1/4 and 1 gallon. It's part of nature's design to have a stomach that stretches. With that stretching monitored, your brain knows how much it's stretching. Your body will send signals to the brain, letting it know how much food is coming through. Some messages are chemical, and others travel via nerves, such as the vagus nerve, that goes from your abdomen to your head. While you're eating, different hormones send different messages. Cholecystokinin is released by the gut when we consume protein and fat. This chemical informs the brain to stop eating. Other satiation hormones are released to slow down the passage of food through the system or to stop any more food from entering. Insulin is also released to deal with carbohydrates and excess proteins, as both are turned into sugar or glucose, the body's primary energy source when it does not have fats to burn. The interesting thing is that many of these hormones stay in the system and can affect the next meal. This is only true unless there's too much empty carbohydrates and unnatural chemicals, like junk foods, overrunning these delicate systems. It's totally fine to indulge in occasional treats, such as having a once-a-week cheat meal without going overboard. What really matters is to make sure that you're constantly maintaining your ideal weight and optimum health. This can only be done if you're consistent in executing a long-term strategy to overcome overeating and binge eating, although even an occasional feast or treat is okay. It's essential to keep your body, especially your digestive system, working efficiently day after day. The long-term nutrient and energy needs of our body are catered by the leptin feedback loop. This helps the brain make decisions on how much food and what type of the different nutrients need to be absorbed from the food being metabolized. The necessary calorie intake, the use of energy, where it's taken from, and where any excess needs to be stored are also dealt with by this loop. This is all decided by the brain from the information sent by the hormone leptin that is released by the body's fat tissue. Leptin tells the brain how much energy is stored as body fats and how much energy we're consuming at any moment. The level of leptin in the blood is directly related to our body fat. The more fat we have, the more leptin circulates our system. This feedback loop is important as it functions as a natural mechanism to maintain the balance of our body weight and energy level. The decisions made by the brain are based on leptin levels, which are themselves then adjusted by the brain to optimum levels, completing the loop. Our leptin feedback loop is like many systems in our body. It was developed by evolution to suit all the natural conditions the human body could encounter. Leptin works perfectly for those who consume a largely wholesome, mainly organic diet. On the other hand, it can't cope with some of the highly processed, low-nutrient foods that many people consume regularly. In fact, it often just stops working when it encounters salty, sweet, creamy chemical foods with virtually no nutrients. Although they give our senses a wonderful workout and taste delicious, they really should be avoided if you want to stop overeating and obtain your ideal weight. Having these types of diets will, over the long term, make us leptin resistant and inflame the brain. They usually cause a person to feel less satisfied and needing to eat more. The junk food industry is a master of getting people addicted to their foods filled with chemicals and additives. These foods are engineered to be super palatable, a term that describes the whole experience of eating and the pleasure that we get from food. Palatability is probably the thing that influences the amount of food we eat at each meal. These foods are engineered to taste so good that you cannot resist them. Once you munch on them, it'll trigger your cravings, and you'll have a hard time resisting these foods from then onwards. When these two sensations or tastes are put together, you create a mixture that for many is irresistible. They just have to have it again and again. Basically, it becomes an instant addiction for many that destroys their health, but also a highly profitable combination for the junk food manufacturers. It's a sad trap for many people, as these foods are purposely engineered for people to always binge on them. Sometimes they even go to extraordinary lengths for junk food. Oftentimes, those who try these foods once will have them for a second or even third time. Just like any other addictions, people can lose self-control when they're addicted to junk food. These are some of the nasty combinations that result in binge eating. Foods that are high density, high energy equals lots of calories in a very small packet. Foods with a very high fat content. Foods made from highly refined starch. Foods made from highly refined sugars. Foods filled with artificial sweeteners. Foods filled with lots of refined salt. Foods that have a special texture like crunchy or creamy. Foods containing drugs like alcohol or caffeine. Foods with high amounts of flavor enhancers like MSG. 99% of the food combination mentioned earlier cannot be found in nature, but are man-made. It creates a brain versus body situation where our brain tells us to eat more and binge, whereas our body rejects these types of food. As a result, more and more people are suffering from multiple health diseases today than ever before.